How are all of you lovely people doing today? My name is John, and welcome to another fantastic episode of the Zombie Storyline Q&A. The show is back. For those of you who are new and don't know what this is a series where I take on your questions about the zombie storyline. You can either leave them down below or tweet me at JohnnyJ25. Either way, you may be in the next episode. Without further ado, let's begin. We're going to kick off today's episode with a question from Chris on Twitter, who asks, John, why do you think only 3 souls came out of the summoning key? And what happened to the Shadow Man? It's a difficult question to answer, and it's one that I've received a lot as of lately. And unfortunately, we're probably not going to know definitively until DLC 4 comes out. Until then, I can give you some of the best speculations and theories we currently have as to why this is the case. When Tank, Takio, and Nikolai go up, Richtofen's soul does not follow. In this moment, nobody draws attention to it, nobody says anything. Richtofen isn't then asked, hey, why didn't your soul go up into the sky? Richtofen isn't maniacally laughing, or he isn't slurking away, so what's going on here? The motives are very difficult to discern, and it makes me wonder, is nobody saying anything because this was status quo, this was expected, or is nobody saying anything because Richtofen is keeping it secret? Richtofen is hiding something. There is, of course, a thought that we don't need all 4 souls just yet. Maybe we save Richtofen's soul for later. This would be giving Richtofen the benefit of the doubt, which he may or may not have earned yet. That's up for you to decide. But there could be the possibility that he's lying to us about his soul. When we kill off Richtofen in the Giant, nothing happens. When we kill off other characters, there's lots of light. The summoning key floats up into the air. We can actually see the soul go into the key. It takes a bit of time. However, in the Giant cutscene, he bends down. There is no light, and it only takes a second or two. Did he really actually collect his soul, or did he lie to us? And if Richtofen lied to us, this begs the question, why did Richtofen have to lie to us? It could very well be that killing the evil Nazi Richtofen is a way to gain the other characters' trust. Asking the other characters to kill themselves is a very difficult thing to do. How do you go really kill another form of yourself and do it morally? It's difficult. But if Richtofen can do it, he can lead the way. He can say, I made this sacrifice. I need you to make this sacrifice as well. And this could earn the other characters' trust, who we know don't really like or trust Richtofen. Now, whether or not he's using this trust for good or for evil is difficult to say. There is one theory that maybe the Nazi Richtofen wasn't actually the Richtofen we needed. The Richtofen we needed was the Origins Richtofen, and this could be something that Maxis was actually keeping secret from Richtofen. It could very well be that this whole time Richtofen has to actually kill himself in the final battle, because his soul will then work with the other souls to fix the universe, quite possibly whatever we actually need those souls for. And this is the thought that Richtofen is good. Richtofen's willing to make this sacrifice, and he just killed that Nazi version to try to get the other characters on board for killing themselves as well. That Richtofen was basically just a sacrificial lamb. There is also another thought that he is intentionally being deceitful because he has an evil plan. He pretended to collect his soul. He never actually did. That was the soul we really needed, and when he sent off all 3 souls, it was all a part of his plan. He never intended to actually collect all 4 souls, and because only 3 souls went up, the plan has been ruined, and maybe Richtofen can manipulate the situation in some way so that he can actually gain power and gain control of whatever it is he is seeking. We know that Dr. Monty doesn't trust Richtofen. Monty has said to the other characters, hey, keep an eye on Richtofen. Monty has specifically excluded him from conversations, and Monty has even said to Richtofen, I'm watching you. This may be all part of Richtofen's evil plan, and Treyarch is starting to hint at us. They first hinted at it with us by showing that Richtofen may not have actually collected his soul. They then hinted it for a second time by showing Richtofen's soul not ascend into the sky, and we may finally see this happen in DLC 4. That may be why Richtofen's soul didn't go up when the others were released in the summoning key. As for the Shadow Man, maybe Richtofen knew the Shadow Man was in there and didn't accidentally release him. We don't know whether or not Richtofen knows the Shadow Man is there. For all we know, the Shadow Man being in the summoning key might not actually be important. This is another one of those things we're going to have to wait and see in DLC 4. Should the Shadow Man not matter in DLC 4, then who cares whether or not he's in the summoning key? But this could be a plot twist that Treyarch has been planning since Shadows of Evil. it could possibly create a big road bump, and Richtofen probably has control over the summoning key, and he just decided, alright, I'm going to release Tank Takio and Nikolai. He didn't even think about the Shadow Man being in there. He didn't even think about his soul being in there. He knew the 3 souls he wanted to release and just used it. He might have that ability with the summoning keys, because we don't know how it works. We don't know if you can release them individually, or if you have to release them all at once. That's hard to say. We don't even know what goes on with the souls inside the summoning keys. So, going into whether or not the Shadow Man should have been released is a question you can't answer, but we're gonna have to wait and see with DLC 4. Moving on, we now have a question from Mike P, who asks, what eventually happened to the Mexican test subject? The Mexican test subject has come back into the zombie storyline, and I thought I would use this question as an opportunity to talk about some new interesting information that we have received. Last we heard about the Mexican test subject, we finally received a name for him. Pablo Marinas, and we saw his spleen laid out in a tray. It had a keeper symbol on it, and apparently he held the key, and we just assumed he was dead from that point on because his spleen was laid out on a tray like that, and probably didn't survive. We actually then received some pretty cool information in Gorod Krovi. Several pieces of paper were scattered around the map, and then they were assembled into this image right here, and this was then solved by a number of people on the COD Zombies forum. I want to give credit to them, they did an excellent job, and we have this letter written by Pablo. It reads like this: "My name is Pablo, or at least I think that it was, or I don't know anymore. I've been locked away, held prisoner in this cell for many months by German scientists. They keep experimenting on me, pumping me full of some blue liquid. I think it's responsible for the repeated visions I have been having, which I swear look and feel real. In this vision, my name is Pablo Marinas, and I'm a knight coming back from the Crusades. I have been fighting in a great battle against a strange demon-like creatures who are trying to devour the earth. At one point, it appears I'm doomed, trapped in the tentacles of the great 3-headed beast, when suddenly 4 knights decimated with magical elemental staves, saving me from certain death. There are, if otherworldly creatures that fight on our side against the demons. The creepy thing is that the sigils on their tunics resemble the ones I noticed in the stones here at the castle. As I was being brought to my cell, I just hope I can eventually find a way to escape this. While I consider myself to be a brave knight in battle, I will tell you, my son, that those 4 were the bravest warriors I've ever seen, and had the privilege to fight alongside them in the great battle many years ago, where we defeated the creatures from beyond, and the dead eaters. They disappeared after we claimed victory, never to be heard from again. The last thing they told me was to build my castle here, in this very location, before they disappeared." So this gives Pablo a whole lot more significance in the zombie storyline. Originally, he was just an offhanded remark by Richtofen. Richtofen said, oh, the test subject, whatever, the Mexican one has died. And now we find out that he actually fought alongside our 4 characters in the great battle. This is the battle that we see in the Origins image. This is the battle that we see depicted on the walls in Shadows of Evil. This is the great battle where the Keepers defeated the Apothecans and then banished them. We know they're talking about the Apothecans when they discuss the 3-headed creature with tentacles. That's the Margwa. Pablo was probably about to be eaten by a Margwa when our 4 characters came in, and the symbol that they talked about across their tunics is this Keeper cross that we have been seeing throughout the zombie storyline. So, what eventually happened to the Mexican test subject? He died, but here we see living on through many of these letters that he's actually written, most likely to his son, and he seems to have been able to live on a second life through these visions where he actually fought alongside our characters. Maybe he could even be considered one of the ancients. Who knows? Today's episode will end with a question from the Unusual Gamer on Twitter, who asks, John, where did Peter McMahon go after the intro? This is a question I've received a lot as of lately. I think when I asked for Q&A questions, I got 5 or 6 people asking me where Peter went after the intro. When you spawn into the map, you won't find Peter anywhere. You won't find his parachute. He seems to have mysteriously disappeared, and the reason he's disappeared is that he's not actually inside the map. When our characters parachuted down, you can see 2 things. You can see a tank, and you can also see the trenches. And what this does is let us know where we actually are in the map at that moment. We're in the battlefield where we fight the dragon and where we fight Nikolai. I want to give a shout out to Money Talks for lending me this footage. When you actually go in there, you don't really see Peter's parachute. You don't see Peter. I think Treyarch just kind of forgot about him. They wanted to use him for this intro cinematic. They wanted our characters to use his parachute to re-enter the map, and then Nikolai chases them off into where the playable area is. And they must have just forgot to reincorporate his body back into the map. It doesn't really matter though, he's dead. As he was parachuting back down to the earth, we believe that he is dead. He's not really as important to the story as we thought he was. Unfortunately, he was just kind of a random character that they chose to bring back. We thought he might play a larger role in this map, but as we continue to go through it, he seems to have not played any sort of role in this map. He just kind of helped our characters get back down to the map. Right now, I would say that he probably doesn't really matter, and Treyarch just forgot to reincorporate him back into the map. That's going to wrap things up for this episode of the Zombie Storyline Q&A. If you enjoyed the video, maybe give it a like, possibly subscribe, but I would recommend that you leave more questions down below. You can either leave them in the comments or tweet me at JohnnyJ25. As always, either way, you may be in the next episode. Have a fantastic day, and bye.